Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Screenwriters Rewatch, a series where we venture into IMDb's top 200 film list, pull out some classics and see if they deserve their place in cinema history, or more importantly, if they deserve their place in the Antarctic-based snow-covered script department vaults, as I've decided they are now. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go back, check out our other stuff. We've got a few of these on the channel now, so go and check them out. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're all over the place. Wherever you get these kind of things, then that's where you'll find us. And don't forget to pop over to the Script Department website to find out what our global network of screenwriters is up to, because they're always up to something in a good way, not in a kind of mischievous way. Sometimes mischievous. Anyway,
sometimes,
yeah. You know. Speaking of mischievous, today I'm joined by Caleb as we wait a little here to see what happens at the end. The Screenwriters Rewatch. You like that one?
Yeah, I did.
Screenwriters Rewatch The Thing, written by Bill Lancaster and John W. Campbell Jr., which is a name that just never wants to stop being said out loud. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I'm gonna open this up. This is called Screenwriters Rewatch. I'm gonna declare something here. This is a blind spot for me. I have never seen this before. I actually finished it 45 minutes ago for the first time, and horror for me is a bit of a weird one. I love writing it, but watching it is not my favorite thing to do. Because I'm a big wuss. So this is quite an interesting, this is going to be quite an interesting experience. But you, Caleb, this is not your first time. You have something more of
Hardly.
Hardly. Tell us about your
first time, yeah.
Tell us about your background with The Thing.
So, I honestly don't know the first time I saw this. I think it was on TV, so it was edited a little bit
Sure.
for violence. Rightfully so, but so I was fairly young, and right now we're going through. We seem to be going through a lot of anecdotes of my film history of watching violence,
yeah,
and how it affected me as a child, and how I got here today.
Perhaps this is what we have for therapy. Then we gather around, talk about Caleb's background, his childhood, and you tell us about it, Caleb. It's a safe space,
and I don't have to pay for it. So
no, it's true.
So yeah, I watched this pretty young, and the first thing I remember was that traumatized me. We had dogs growing up, and that dog scene is just one of the worst scenes ever. So grotesque.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of traumatized me as well. On top of everything else that I watched as a young child.
Reasonable. I get it.
And so it was kind of one of those movies that it doesn't look real. Like the special effects don't look real, but they're done so well that it doesn't matter. Like they're not meant to look real.
Quick. Get him. One of them's The Thing.
Yeah. Shape-shifting corgis.
Yeah. It's not quite as terrifying as a shape-shifting husky, but I'll take it.
No.
Maybe more terrifying. Maybe it's more terrifying because it's you'd never expect it from a corgi.
Yeah. To the betrayal.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. But you love this film. You said to me the other day, you love this film. So what is it?
And so they as I like within the past couple of years, it's kind of become one of my favorites. And revisiting this time is one of the most of course the freshest viewing that I've had, but I tried to be as critical as possible.
Sure.
Like we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really like about this movie is, in the context of the horror genre, I'm a huge horror fan. I think that it's always gotten so much hate because of it being lowbrow, and there's people just don't respect the horror genre, and you can not like it, but I think that is misunderstood a lot.
Mhm.
And as I grew up a fan of the horror genre and received that exposure therapy is the right term, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where I just constantly watched horror movies to the point where I don't care anymore. Nothing affects me.
There you
Uh,
are.
and so this movie is so effective in the horror genre, but it has a great it has some great social commentary. It has some great effects. It has just everything I want out of a good horror movie, and it's done to the point where I think that it holds up no matter the age of the
Yeah.
movie. And John Carpenter is fantastic. And um, I meant to research this before, but the guy, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. So if you know how to pronounce it, the guy who scored this movie,
Okay.
is Inyo. I don't
Inyo,
know.
I reckon we can
It,
go with that.
uh, he's a big composer who I only came to know through the Hateful Eight,
Oh
actually.
wow, okay, cool.
So, and of course, that was where a lot of people did. But going back and watching some older movies, now I'm like, oh, that's that guy. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and they actually, some people like some of the fun facts on this movie claim that they used for Hateful Eight, they used some of the unused score for this movie.
Oh no
Don't
way.
know how true that is, but that's
Cool
if
fact though.
true, fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
If
score,
true, fun. I like it. This is good.
yeah,
If true,
yeah,
fun.
yeah. So, so yeah, the score is perfect in my opinion and fitting for the movie. So all of that going in to why I think this holds up as one of the best horror movies,
Yeah.
if not the best in my opinion, like or my taste. Um, I have so much fun watching it now.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I can tell you that it's interesting to speak about the special effects because I think that is one of the if you'll excuse the pun, it's one of the things that jumps out at you, and kind of grabs you, yeah, because it is. I made the mistake of trying to eat pepperoni pizza, during that.
ooh, that stringy cheese.
It wasn't a good idea. It was a bad plan. It was a bad decision, and I didn't know going in. So now I know, and I just won't try that again. But the point
Don't
being,
yeah.
that it's interesting. You said that they don't look realistic. I honestly, my takeaway from it was, wow, that looks real. Like
Really?
was like, yeah, oh, 100% was, wow, God, and perhaps it's one of those Mandalorian puppet things. Like you can't make Baby Yoda look real because Baby Yoda isn't real, but you can make it look like a puppet, and a puppet is something tangible that you could touch and that you can interact with. And maybe that's kind of what it is. Maybe it's looking at that and from coming from a world and a landscape where we're so oversaturated with CGI. Maybe
Yes.
that for me was what it was like it felt like I had a visceral reaction to that kind of to that imagery, and whilst I wouldn't say I was like frightened by it, it was certainly I was grossed out by it, and it was effective in the way it was telling the story. It's not just a gross out thing, though it is. It's really effective in the way it kind of makes its point and kind of drives that home, which I thought was great. Now,
Yeah.
while I was going through this, I was making some notes, Caleb. I was making some notes as I was going through this too.
Perfect.
And I'll be honest with you, a lot of these notes to start with were not particularly helpful to me. So I'm just going to read you a couple of these notes, and perhaps we can discuss, some of the intention of the film behind it. So
Yeah,
the first note here, a lot of dog related stuff. Who's the prick trying to shoot the dog? Was the first note, which I feel is really indicative of great filmmaker note. The next one was keep going, buddy, keep running, referring to aforementioned said dog. And then that dog is really cute though. Then you show that computer, Kurt Russell, followed by the guy in the helicopter. Must be a terrible shot. There is a note here also, which is just with no context, simply Kurt Russell's majestic beard. Um, you know, and then the guy trying to shoot the dog gets shot, and then I just simply wrote down karma for trying to kill that dog. And then the next note there is I'm starting to think this dog maybe is not so innocent. And then, yep. And then following that is actually just another note saying Kurt Russell's massive helicopter hat.
Oh, perfect. It's always on his back, or on his head.
What a weird decision. What a weird decision for costume there. I'm into it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool, but it's weird. And then and then finally the last note on the dog. Last two notes was I also that dog hovering around is really creeping me out. I don't think he's actually a good boy. And then I got to the dog is not a good boy. The dog is not a good boy.
Very bad boy.
Very bad boy. And then I felt bad, and I said, okay, I feel bad for saying the dog is not a good boy because the real dog is obviously a good boy. But the character the dog is playing is not a good boy. So I felt the need to clarify that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, but the kind of nonsense that twisted into is that it's a brilliant opening, is what I'm actually getting at there. The way this, there is a point. I promise, faithful viewers, I'm not just talking nonsense. It's a brilliant opening, and the tension and the way it sets the scene, and the way you literally see this thing. And I've just figured out the actual name of the dog is Jed. Jed the dog.
Yes.
Thanks to IMDb.
Jed the dog.
Running in, bringing the thing into the camp, and it's just such a great moment. And you're right there, the social commentary between them. They're in Antarctica. That you'd think that nobody's shooting anybody. It's even at the point where people are, things are being shot at. You'd think that they go over to that other human being and say, "Hey, bro, what's up? Why are you trying to shoot this dog?"
Yeah.
Instead, of course, your countrymen here, but they shoot the Norwegian guy, and I feel like there's some commentary there. But great solid opening for the film, and kind of an interesting reverse of, I think, Save the Cat in that, because
100%.
Literally the
opposite. Kill the dog.
Kill the dog.
Yeah.
And as screenwriting theories go, it's the less popular kill the dog. But it's interesting because it immediately puts the viewer in this situation where they're like, well, this guy's the enemy. This Norwegian fella, or the Swede, as Kurt Russell keeps referring to him as, more social commentary for you there. He is, he's immediately like, okay, this guy's a bad guy. Why they're trying to kill this dog. And because the dog is such a good boy, because Jed is such a good boy, you immediately buy into the fact that Jed is in fact the good dog, which is, I think I'm not doing a very good job of actually commending and explaining the film, but I think it's great.
Well, no, you're good. I think it does. I was so excited watching that opening again, because it's been a couple years since I've seen it. It just wasn't streaming anywhere, and I needed an excuse to buy this movie. And so so whenever I was watching the opening again, I was just like, man, this is so genius. Because knowing going into the movie what the dog does eventually is just so, when I was, of course, thinking, oh, Marcus hasn't seen this movie, so I wonder if this is good enough to trick a new viewer still, because obviously as we evolve as movie watchers, we pick up on things that become tropes, or even just utilized in other movies. So we our literacy of watching a film is we understand where directors and writers are going. So I was wondering if this still held up to where that notion of playing with an audience coming in automatically thinking, okay, a dog is innocent, a guy with a gun is not.
Yeah.
And there's no dialogue for a long time there. And then whenever the dialogue comes, it's very choppy. and it's not any sort of meaningful dialogue. It's just like barks basically.
Yeah.
No pun intended again.
Oh.
uh, and so like um, yeah, I love that opening of the reversal of how this movie kind of tears down what we know as an audience,
Mhm.
uh, or what we think we know that it's set up,
Yeah.
and it's just a great reversal for whenever the time comes
Yeah.
of the dog being the thing, especially if you don't know what the thing is,
Well, this
that
is
it's
it.
a
Yeah.
shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, it's
yeah.
interesting. We're talking about the opening. In fact, that is not the true opening of the film. The true opening of the film is the spaceship
True.
crashing
Yeah.
to Earth thousands of years ago, as we find out later on. Um, I'm interested for your point of view on this because the that I struggle with that a little bit. It's my first kind of my main kind of eyebrow raise, I suppose, for this film is the alien element of this, because my feeling is that without that, without this telling the audience this is an alien, here's a spaceship, um, you know, actually, I think it's a stronger film, and yeah, I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I would, I would say that you're correct. Like that, I think it should be taken out, or
Mhm.
should have been. I mean, obviously, we're not going to change it now.
Oh,
That would
sure,
be
no, no, of
stupid.
course, yeah,
But yes, I think that would have helped the overall feel of the movie, because it almost feels like a different movie, which I I want to say that the reason that's in there is because of the original, the thing from another world.
yeah,
It feels very um what's the sci-fi,
yeah,
pulp fiction, is that
yeah, 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 yeah,
right?
yeah. I know what
So
you
it
get.
feels, yeah, so it feels like something of the 50s era of its understanding of horror, or its way of doing horror,
Yeah,
where Carpenter has, uh I don't remember exactly where this falls in his career, but like Halloween was his big breakout movie that he did, and that was a very, um like, he doesn't pull his punches.
hmm,
It's very grim, and
yeah,
what happens, and there's not, uh this movie is very nihilistic, and
it is. I mean,
that's the theme in the 80s, kind of, and
yeah,
70s and 80s, that like him and Ridley Scott, and this has a lot of comparison to Alien,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
that theme of the monster being a nihilistic force that can't be beaten,
Hmm.
and it's the character's way of dealing with that's interesting,
Hmm.
um, in this era, and of course that's carried over. But that was kind of a lot of the themes that were going on in
For
this
sure.
era of horror film. Um, so yeah, I think that's like, it's so bleak that to have that kind of 50s lingering sci-fi, this is not a, like, it's a sci-fi movie, but it becomes a full-on horror
Yeah.
film, um that, we I don't think you really got to see in the 80s, which actually this, or sorry, the 50s. And actually this movie got, like, commercially was a huge failure.
Mm,
Everyone hated it whenever it
yeah.
first came out, and it was only afterwards that the cult following came.
Yeah. I
um
think it's quite it would appeal to our modern sensibilities as moviegoers, with the
yeah,
exception of those things. I think the removal of the kind of the 50s elements of the space and the UFO, 'cause it literally is like a classic looking UFO that falls out the sky. I think
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
yeah, I think if you remove that, it becomes just more grounded. I think it's more frightening as
Yeah,
well
yeah, that's a good
to
word.
not know what it is. You just kind of these are these guys. It's an isolationist tale, isn't it? These people are isolated, as isolated as you can possibly be on the planet Earth, and they are and here they are, and then they. I think it's a lot. I think it's more frightening. I think it's more engaging if we don't know what it is that's hunting them in that way. And that having said that, of course, it doesn't. I don't think it takes away from the true horror. I think it's just it's a weird tonal thing To
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you could still have the ice stuff, like
Mhm.
everything else later on, and them finding the UFO. I'm fine with that, but yeah, it is very much the like UFO coming in, even the way, even down to like the effect that it's the way that it's done
Mm.
is feels like a different era.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think that yeah, it's fine. You find the UFO later on because because we've had that opening, it kind of takes the drama out of that discovery because it's like, oh yeah, that UFO from
Yeah,
the beginning,
yeah,
rather than what the UFO? What are you talking? Why is there a UFO in the ice? It's
yeah.
like that. It's a different feeling. It's also of interest to me, and perhaps this is my modern viewing sensibility kind of clouding it here a little bit. So you have these creatures that are able to uh, presumably build and pilot an interstellar craft, which has clearly gone wrong because they've crashed into Earth in a pretty terrible way, and then they then just kind of go and on the offensive and everything like that. Again, I feel like with the removal of all of the alien stuff, including that UFO part later on, it becomes it's more monstrous. And because the intelligence of it, which is implicit in the fact that it can mimic what we do, there's physical intelligence, but also emotional intelligence and traditional intelligence that is implicit in the thing. I think if you were to kind of remove those elements, then it just becomes more frightening. I think because it's fear of the unknown, isn't it? We don't know what that is at that stage, um, but I think doesn't tarnish it overall. Overall, really, say it's still a really good thing. I want to talk about the characterization, and again, perhaps an '80s trope. This kind of an action trope, because there's a their world, these characters' world, is going to hell in a handbasket all around them. And first of all, I love the fact they just happen to have like a bunch of flamethrowers. Like,
Right. Oh my
what
god.
for? What are they
Yes.
using them for
Yeah.
day to day? That's what I want to know.
Ice, dude. How else would you fight Antarctica?
Yeah, all right, I'll
No,
give you
my
that.
point there. No, I love that. Like even if this wasn't an intention, but like this movie is is so perfect to me because there's only male characters.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. This is one of those movies that doesn't like that using that idea of only having male characters is a great like almost social like study of
Yeah,
how like okay you throw these guys in Antarctica and now they have to have this mental game of are they like almost that Red Scare, are they like a communist or whatever, you know,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
of the 80s, you know. And so yeah, you have that and but you have the masculine forces like butting heads, you know. And so that's what Childs um and McCready like is a perfect example of that throughout the
yeah.
script in the movie. Are these two forces like kind of these two alpha males who are you know combating to lead the group in the best way that they think possible. And so yeah, like this is a totally different movie if you add in like female characters into this.
Mm.
Not that like you know who knows how it would be, how it would change, but
Well,
I
I reckon
love the
I reckon
idea
they'd
that
survive for starters. I reckon because I think you put a female presence in there. I think that they'd go, hang on a minute, let's actually think about this for a second and not just assume that we're all going to die and make the noble sacrifice. Um, and
yeah, there may be a way out of this.
yeah, I mean, especially given that when you get to the end of this, right? So they do this thing and there's that line in there. We need to heat this place up a bit. It's like, okay, I see your logic, Kurt Russell. I get it. I get it.
Exactly.
We're gonna do this,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
then it's like, actually, you're just destroying everything, and the thing
Exactly.
can still just go and like kip in the snow and wait for the rescue team. So the plan is like flawed from the word go, and it is that you're right. I hadn't considered it that way. That kind of masculine ego crap of like, hey man, we're just gonna blow it up. Like
Yeah. Like
dynamite.
if only they had Rambo tank tops and
Yeah,
were
yeah,
just
yeah.
sweaty for no
Yeah,
reason in Antarctica. Like,
that,
if
that's
only.
yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah. Like, yeah, their plan is literally we're on an isolated, like we're on an island. Everything around us can kill us.
Yeah,
Like, and then there's a force inside that can kill us. So their plan is to just burn it all down. The place where they have to like stay to survive.
yeah,
We're just gonna light it on fire.
yeah,
Like, that's such a hilarious idea. But
yeah.
it does make sense in the context of the story. But
Sure.
it's only like once you separate yourself that like, yeah, like it's still probably gonna freeze itself. Like, the fire is gonna go out at some point.
Yeah,
If one of them at the end is the thing, um,
it's all for
which
nothing.
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts of that. But yeah, it's all for nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it just goes back and gets frozen again.
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I got the vibe that, Childs kind of comes out of nowhere, doesn't he? He just appears again, and there's that conversation. I think it's weighted to make you think that Childs is the thing. That was my take from that. Is that it's there's that line in there where he says something like, well, if one of us is this, we're in no shape to do anything about it anyway. And he kind of looks at him like wryly, like, yeah, you are right about that. I'm also tired. That I like that idea.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
yeah, yeah,
the thing at that point is like, you know what, I am just gonna sit here and have a drink with you because I'm quite tired
yeah.
too. And I I don't know. I
Which
think
yeah, great ending.
great ending, and that is that see what happens. That last line, we're just gonna sit here
Mm,
and see what happens. Is great. It's a cool ending, deliberately ambiguous, but I do suspect that Childs is the thing because of, I don't know, the way
yeah,
it's performed, the way it's written, though, it just feels like it.
yeah.
The way,
I would say from a writing point, like if the what I feel like the intention was,
mm,
or sorry, from my writer brain, what I hope it was, and the way that I interpret it is that um, neither of them are the thing. Like, that they just are paranoid of each other because of like
yeah,
the
yeah,
themes that have been running
yeah,
throughout, and like their lack of trust for each other throughout the film. I love that idea of like, yeah, we both think that each other are the thing, but
mm,
like in all reality they're not, and they're just gonna die thinking that.
yeah.
um
It's
it's
like
kind of
that.
like the underpin of like the script
Yeah.
is like that. And if it maybe in context of the Red Scare,
Hmm.
over like in North America during the 80s,
Yeah.
is what I'm using. And so like you kind of, and actually this was it was the original novella was written in 1938.
Okay.
So I'd be interested to dive into that. But it was an astounding science fiction novel. So that's why you have these elements of that pulp sci-fi.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, but yeah, so I think that idea to me, if they're both not the thing,
Mm.
but they're
Oh
still
yeah.
just like can't trust each other,
Yeah.
it really like fully underpins the rest of the script for me.
Yeah.
But I'll say what I think happened. um, that's what I wish happened.
Yeah.
Now, what I think happened is it cuts away from McCready whenever everything explodes. How did he get out of there?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So I think McCready's actually the thing,
Oh,
and
okay.
I like that. I like that idea of like, oh, we think the our hero survived, but
Yeah.
really we didn't even know that he didn't make it out of the explosion because like he's fully underground, would have to run upstairs and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
out before it cuts to the wide of everything exploding.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. That's what I feel like. That's my interpretation.
Yeah. See, I was
So
I was so bought into Kurt Russell being immortal by that point that I was just like, yeah, of course he is, of course he
yeah,
is. No, it's three. Well, you've got three theories. I mean, they are the three.
yeah,
They are, unless they're both
and
the
they're fun.
thing, and they don't realize that the other one is also the thing, and the thing is
That would be
Spirit.
hilarious.
That would be great.
Yeah,
You know what?
yeah.
When you say that I was, but that Fry meme from Futurama where he's like that. Do you know that one where he's like
No, no.
hmm, like that,
No.
being suspicious. I just imagine two of those fry memes like, looking at each other like,
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and I think that the script and the way the script is written, talk to him, expand on your point there, and those themes running throughout. I think it's really cool the way they find the thing, they bring the thing back, they kill the thing, and then the thing. I mean, that line. What is it? They're not dead yet. Fucking chilling. Like, I mean,
When is that?
they're sat in the cab of that of whatever it is, some kind of, I think, a tractor or something like that. And he's talking to McCready, and McCready's just saying, "Oh man, I just want to go to my shack and get drunk." And he sat there, which, and I kind of like the ending as well. He finally gets his drink. It's like that whole thing, like working up to, I'm gonna have my drink now. And he looks at him and says, and he's reading through the doctor's notes, and he says, "They're not dead yet. There's still cellular activity. They're not dead."
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I got chilled.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, shit. This is a
right," because it's like now everything that is the another reversal. That's what I love about this movie, is it's 50 minutes in before we fully get to like where characters are dying off.
Yeah.
And everything goes south so quickly in the second part of Act 2.
Yeah.
Where by the start of Act 3, really, we're down to like 4 guys.
Yeah.
And Act 3, maybe Act 3 is a little, every time I watch it, it comes off a little light to me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, because the real big shining moments are the 2 scenes of where I forget the guy's name, but where they give him they do the paddles on him.
Oh yeah,
and his chest opens up. Dude, those 2 sequences followed by the blood test scene are just some of the best sequences for me. That I just always go back to, and I'm like, this is how you do it.
I agree with you. Like that moment where his chest opened up and the big mouth appears in his chest. Holy, like that! I just didn't see it coming. Had no idea that was coming. And it feels like it. You can feel them building to something with the fact that he's dead, and you can feel them building to something. But I didn't expect that. I mean, oh my god! And it's. And then the doctor's like, "Oh God, I'm getting hacked." It's amazing.
And then that's all. So like a smaller moment there that like directing wise is directed so well and weaved into another scene that like carries over is the scalpel that Bill, I think, or Clark maybe, that he grabs, and it shows that it's shot in like a split diopter, so you're seeing both fields in frame or in focus, and you've got his scalpel and McCready in the background, and so it's like it's hinting at that all while the doctor is trying to bring that guy back to life. And then it opens up and then everything goes south, but then it hops to the blood test scene, and it brings back that same shot of the split diopter with the scalpel, and it's like now it finally plays that beat out. And so like that's a great directing moment of setup and payoff, that like is just one of the many reasons why this movie, like I love this movie. But those are of course the 2 shining scenes, which to hop back to the discussion of like the special effects. I don't think that it's unrealistic. I think that it's hyper realistic. So like that's what I mean whenever I say it looks fake, is because of like the stringiness, the string cheesiness of all the effects is like it's all real. And that's why it's so gross to me. Like the head fall like stretching off. Oh my God. Genius. Like
seriously.
And like it's so disgusting. And that's why, like, again, in relation to why I love this movie as a horror movie is like, you have to have violence in a horror movie, like for me,
I get it. Yeah.
And so like you do have to have that grotesqueness and body horror, and this movie delivers on that also because of the special effects.
I the spider head thing was
Yeah.
is one of the best and worst things I've ever seen, and for the same reason. I'm looking at it like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
it's
And
it,
it's underpinned by that like this is the if you're looking at that scene in that room with the doctor and the paddles, if you're looking at that as a mini movie,
mm,
as scenes,
yeah,
have act
absolutely,
1,
yeah,
act 2, act 3.
yeah,
Act 3 is literally what we're feeling as an audience as the thing crawls away and they turn and they're
yeah,
like, "You've got to be kidding me,"
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. How
or
do
whatever he says. Like,
yeah, yeah,
and like the look on their faces is like, it's. I mean, they do it so well in Alien also. Whenever
yeah.
the
Oh my
chest
god, yeah,
burster happens and
yeah,
skirts away, and they're all like, "What?"
yeah.
So like, yeah, it's just there's so many great moments.
Oh wow, I really really enjoyed it. I really 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 enjoyed it. And like I said, and I think monster movies don't do it for me really. Usually, I don't get on with them because I don't find monsters scary, and I like to be scared by horror movies and things like that. I like to be for me it's I'm the guy who got angry with people for laughing at Paranormal Activity in the cinema because I'm sat there like, and really I was as well. I was so angry, like sat there all like, but if you don't take it seriously, then it won't be scary, will it? Not realizing that people are laughing at it because it's scary and that it's, oh man,
Yeah, yeah,
bless
yeah.
bless little me. But I'm that guy. I'm the guy that likes the subtle ghost stories and things like that. And monster movies, generally speaking, I just don't really get on with. But this,
Mm.
there's so much going on here, and it's so impressive, and I found it really refreshing. Given what we exist in now with this kind of like I said at the beginning, saturation of CGI and things like that. I found this such a refreshing experience to just sit down and watch it and just be taken in by it and uh and so yeah, it was a good. This was a good pick, my friend. It was
Sweet. Yeah,
thoroughly
no, that
enjoyable.
I'm happy. Yeah, I because yeah, it's definitely interesting to like I don't know if many people have watched it that I've talked to like that
Mm,
haven't seen it. So
yeah,
you're kind of one of the first, like
yeah,
especially
yeah.
yeah, given how much time has passed since
Mm.
this movie's come out and how
All right,
we
all
as an
right, all right.
audience will
Take, take,
view it.
take it easy. Take it easy there. Take it easy. How much time has passed? Oh, you're the only ones. All right.
I'm just saying the age of the movie.
Sure. Go ahead.
Because Lord of the Rings is 20 years old now.
Oh,
So yeah, that makes me feel weird.
yeah.
But yeah, so like the so you had the note about that line, which we can hop back to because I
Mm,
think I had a similar note that was um, another line where everything's starting to go um, south, like and McCready's sitting at his desk and I think he's recording himself
mm,
and he says nobody trusts anybody now, which
yeah,
is the whole theme of this movie, the whole
absolutely.
social commentary of this movie. um and that's why again like I love horror movies. That's why Get Out was amazing.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
like it has this social commentary that is lasting. And the good thing about that is like we can view it with a modern day lens of like okay, well, what is this like? This is the historical context and maybe what they were doing at that time of like
Mm,
in the social commentary of whenever it was made. But good horror movies last where
yeah.
you can watch it with a modern day lens and be like, oh, this is how it relates to our period that we're living in, and it has something fresh to say and some revelations that we can carry over into our world and
Yeah.
even our writing hopefully.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's why I love horror movies.
Yeah.
It changes with how we change, which all good art does,
Mm,
or films. uh
sure.
you
Well,
know
this film's a perfect kind of way of looking at that, isn't it? Written in the late 30s. The Second World War, the Nazism, and the general sort of, uh, and I think fear of fear of minorities was very high at the time, all this kind of thing. And it was a weird time. It's a really weird time, and so spawned weird stuff. And then you transpose it into the 80s, and like you were saying, the Red Scare and various other things, Cold War, all of this, stuff going on.
Also, I found AIDS was a common
Yeah,
reading of this movie, like because the
yeah,
analogy, or not analogy, but the like looking at it through the scare of AIDS coming about and not knowing anything about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
knowing who to trust.
that's
Yeah, I
maybe
see that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I see
So
that. It's interesting, and I think so. This film does a perfect job of moving with the times its story rather. It does a perfect job of moving with the times with its exact thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see remakes of this ad infinitum. You see people taking this on again and finding a way of making it work for the modern world. And I'd be interested to see that. It'd be an interesting.
there is a pseudo remake.
Mhm.
If you check it out, I don't want to spoil it for you. If you, it's all right, it's fine. It has an interesting, I wouldn't say twist, but it has like an interesting reason to exist.
Okay. Okay.
So it's definitely worth a watch. The third act goes a little too sci-fi, like CGI heavy.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so like that's definitely, and there's the main character is a woman in that one, so I think in relation to this it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
um
Maybe we should have
yeah,
a look at that sometime and chat about that in comparison to this, because that would be an interesting thing. I also have a feeling this may spawn a spin-off rewatch series called Caleb makes what Marcus watch horror films, and which
yes.
might be quite interesting. I think it might be quite interesting.
I would love it, yeah.
Well, maybe let's do that. Maybe let's do that. We'll look at some more stuff. Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. There's a lot to say, a lot to talk about, and stands the test of time, whilst also just being a damn entertaining piece of cinema, and also Kurt Russell's glorious beard. I mean, what else do you need to say about it?
oh
Really?
my god, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
also luscious hair.
bushy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
his
right,
hair,
yeah.
I like brush my hair, but I didn't mean to. Wasn't doing that on purpose then. But like his luscious hair, like it's so shiny. I want to go and like
Right,
ruffle it,
yeah,
and just oh
yeah.
man,
So
how'd you do
80s.
that? So how are you maintaining that in the Antarctic? That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
extraordinary. Like,
exactly.
what's your
Yeah, I
secret,
think
Kurt
he's just
Russell?
doing it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice one.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks, man. This has been a lot of fun. It's always nice to kind of look at things like this and chat about them. Do you have any on kind of final thoughts there? What can we take away from this as writers and people for
Hmm,
new writers coming on board? What's the lesson?
man. So I think it is easy to, and I think this is a common theme with a lot of uh, this series of
Mm,
movies that we're doing, where they're remembered as classics. And I talked about it a little bit in Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
but these movies, if we know them, um, and I know a lot of these as movies that I grew up with,
Mm,
where I wasn't studying film and
yeah.
writing professionally. Um, so like looking at these movies, coming back to them, and not just knowing what happens and knowing them as they exist. Uh, the screenplays are in most of these, at least the ones that I've been involved in, have been just so good, and it's, you really have to look at them, and force yourself to look at the screenplays,
Yeah.
as you watch these movies, especially again if you've seen them before. But in this one specifically, man, there's just so many good reversals of
Yeah.
understanding your audience and knowing what they're going to be thinking. And this is, I think this goes for anything outside of the horror genre. But like the the uh, the horror genre benefits more, I think, from from subversion
Mm.
of like knowing how to trick your audience and knowing um, where to build like trust with the audience and say like, okay, this is what I think that you're doing, or this is what I'm gonna make you think that I'm doing, and gaining the audience's trust to then break it
Yeah.
is a great thing to utilize, because it can be so effective in subversion and even um, like let's use Game of Thrones just popped into my head, but like let's use the Red Wedding.
Mhm.
That's another great example of subversion of like what our understanding as an audience is, where we're watching something and something comes out of nowhere because we think we've been told something else, but in the background, like really the writer has been tricking us all along.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what this movie does. And then on top of that, the two scenes of that I mentioned earlier, of the way those sequences play out are something that I could just come back to and watch just those scenes and study how those build and how they're mini movies within themselves, or mini stories.
Yeah.
So
Love it. Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, the that for the subversion is exactly what I took from this. Is exactly that thing of, play with the tropes, play with the tropes. Don't adhere to the cliches. Don't adhere to the tropes. Play with them and have them there, but then twist it around at the end of the thing. It's a great way of playing with your audience. And I think the dog at the beginning infiltrating is just a perfect example of how you do that. So that's what I get from that. Thanks very much. Thank you for the recommendation. I have now seen The Thing. I feel like I'm a better writer for it. So I appreciate that, and certainly less of a hack and a fraud. So that's always good.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see about that. Nice one. Thank you, Caleb. And thanks to all of you for watching. Don't forget to go back and check out previous rewatches of various different things. We've done the Lord of the Rings recently. We did The Shining. We've done all kinds of bits and bobs. So yeah, go check them out. I don't know what we're rewatching next week. I can't remember what we landed on yet, but we will. Well, it'll come out next week. So check it out. Come back and join us for that. Nice one. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.